Looks like BuzzFeed News is on its way out. Looks like there could also be a new layer one token. Actually, there is. And is AI going to take your clothes? I don't know. We should talk about it on Around the Blockchain. How's it going, folks? Welcome. It's Freaky Friday on Around the Blockchain. And that means we have some freaky topics and it's going to get a little weird. So if you like it getting a little weird, go ahead and smash that like button. But let's go ahead and meet our guest here. Coming back, she's got 589 problems, but XRP is not one of them. Jenna, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me, Nick. I'm so excited to be here. Let's get it. Freaky Friday.
Excited to have you. And then in the blue corner, we've got the man who is not only proof of work, he's proof of work out. Mind your biz.
Let's go. Hey, thanks for having me back on the channel. It's always a great day hanging here with so many intelligent, bright, and well-spoken folks. I'm a little intimidated, to be honest. Just a little.
What? Oh, Seth, come on now. In the red corner, we've got our own Tim Warren. Welcome to the fold. Tim, you're going to be here in Georgia very soon, right?
Yeah, a week from today, I'm moving up. I have a truck ready. We're going to be packing it up Friday morning. I'm driving up there Friday, unpacking on Saturday morning. And Monday, May 1st, I'm in the building at Hit Network. So,
wow. Well, look, don't let anyone steal your liquid death when you're here. Nothing like some good old liquid death. But one of our best friends of the show, Drew Wolfer, in the orange corner, matching the golden orange can of liquid death. Drew, you are the CEO of Presend, right?
Yep, absolutely, man. Just glad to be here. This is gonna be an unpopular opinion. You guys call it Freaky Friday. We call it #Friday Pie Day because we're Italian. We love pizza, and Fridays are always pie days. So I had to get that in there. That's like my little personal advertisement, right? And then obviously, we've got Presend. So Presend in the building today.
That's right. And we'll be getting into Presend a little bit later in the show, but let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to show you guys how it's done here. This is Around the Blockchain. You can visit us on the YouTubes because you're doing that right now. But go ahead and give us a subscribe. And if you're brand new to the show, look, when people say something that you like, say +1 in the chat and then put their name so I know to give them some points. The person with the most points at the end of the show gets to do a little send-off, gets to show their own socials, not their tokens. Let's see. If you want to be my simp, you can follow me on Twitter at Nick Damundi. And we've got a bunch of great stuff coming up here today, but we're going to talk about the news and the death of the news. And we're going to talk about BuzzFeed News shutting down. Look at all the homies in the chat here. The chat is lit up today. Jenna already got a point somehow from Redman. That's not fair. BuzzFeed Incorporated has announced that it's laying off 15% of its employees and is planning to kill off BuzzFeed News. Let's see. Several news publishers have cut jobs as economic headwinds and shaky online ad market, and there's no Donald Trump for them to bash anymore. So they've all lost their money. Vice is also going down the tubes. BuzzFeed also made cuts earlier. It was later last year. So but in December, they made a bunch of cuts. Vox Media, the publisher of New York Magazine and SB Nation, recently laid off about 7% of its staff. I want to go around the blockchain real quick. Is anyone surprised by this? Is it shocking to see BuzzFeed News go down?
I am shocked, Nick.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not really that shocked. You're right. No, that's the thing. This is the sort of thing that we sort of expect to see these in times like what we're going through. And I mean, realistically, nobody alive today, nobody on this panel certainly has lived through times as interesting as what we're going through right now. But historically, when times get lean and when markets get difficult, we see closures and we see larger telco conglomerates. We see them breaking off some of their former properties into either their own standalone things, or they wind up having to cull some of the things that are not working out so well for them, so they can regroup. They can double down on the stuff that is actually making them money. So if they happen to be losing a bit, if it's a bit of a cost center there, that's rough. But these things happen.
Jenna, what news company, in your opinion, needs to go? They just got to get out. They're doing more harm than good.
I'm really not a fan of CNN. I would not be sad if CNN just went away altogether. But there are just, a handful of people that run all of these media outlets. And, it's so biased. Everybody's so censored now. And I think that that's why it's so awesome what Elon has done with Twitter. And, it's great that we have sites like Rumble for whenever they want to shut up, the YouTube influencers if they say too much. But I think that mainstream media jobs are going to start disappearing as we see more and more people utilize AI, right? And just people independently doing their investigative journalism. Look at what BitBoy's done right now. Like, there's just so much. So it would not surprise me to see a lot more mainstream media go away.
Yeah, it's true. So, Tim, do you think journalism is going to be better or worse without BuzzFeed News?
Oh, wow. I think the obvious answer has to be better. I mean, first of all, when I saw the topic today, Nick, I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. BuzzFeed exists. I forgot about them. And then, of course, we're sitting here. We're mourning their loss. But I mean, even just one of the things I did was I literally just went to BuzzFeed.com or whatever. And the majority of the headlines and news are things about like what's happening in Hollywood, what's happening to actors. And it's an online tabloid is what it is. And unfortunately, at times they catch even people like my wife. Like, she'll come home from the grocery store and she'll be like, did you hear such and so did this to such and so? And then this. And I'm like, you realize that this is all just fake news. And so obviously it's going to help journalism. I think you made a great point, Nick, right there. Like, maybe even people like BuzzFeed are rooting for a Republican to take back over the office because this would be a great time. I mean, what we see happening right now in the White House, great news is happening. Maybe not great news for the American people, but for headlines and for stories, you can do some great things.
Yeah.
But when those are the people funding you, and you're not allowed to talk badly about them, news can run a little dry. So maybe CEO and the executives over at BuzzFeed might be slipping some money into the Republican nominations to try to get people so they can start writing juicy stories again. We don't know. Either way, I think ultimately I'm loving what I'm seeing from Elon Musk. I don't know how effective it's going to be. I think we're going to see a large amount of people try to get away from Twitter, but putting those notices on Twitter, letting people know who is publicly funded by governments or by big business is really good. And I really do hope that we start to see a world that transitioned. It's going to be really hard because people are going to transition to things like Twitter and YouTube. I think a lot of people in the crypto space, for example, do most of our research via Twitter and YouTube. And so it's going to be hard to always know exactly what is happening, but it's a lot better going and hearing news from someone you know is being genuine and is actually trying to find the truth, rather than watching a TV station where it's very clear that they got money lining their pockets from big interest. It's going to be good for the space to see some of these bigger publicly funded news stations go away.
Yeah. I do want to bring up this tweet about the new context feature in Twitter with Joe Biden getting absolutely bodied. He says, I make no apologies for being the most pro-union president in American history. Says, actually, on December 22nd, you blocked a bill to allow the railroad to go on strike. I mean, like, look, in the post-truth era, having like actual informed, fact checkers is really a thing of beauty. But Drew, I want to touch on what Tim said about the money in the news. Do you think that BuzzFeed and Vice and Vox and all these other publications going down the tubes, is this hopefully the end of corporate journalism, do you think?
Honestly, I definitely do not think that at all.
Oh, okay.
So we know that there's these massive groups that basically own pretty much everything. So I bet you, and I'm not saying that this is a guarantee, but I almost bet you that if you went and traced like who owned BuzzFeed and then who owned that and then who owned the company that owned that, it all traces back to a lot of the same places. We see it in Hollywood. We see it in journalism. We see it literally everywhere. And that's how, I've actually seen videos, montages where there's all these different news outlets, whether it's, local news, national television, whatever it may be, world news, where these people are literally saying almost the exact same thing verbatim, right? And they're being fed all of these different, or it's the same narrative, almost with the same exact words. So you can tell that there's some large players out here pulling the strings, right? And here's a point that I want to make about like other platforms too. So even TikTok is known to be doing this, right? And on TikTok, what do you see in America, right? It's a bunch of just like get rich quick schemes, or just like, hey, this is how it's funny, where people are doing pranks and stuff like that. That's what's pushed to you in the algorithm of TikTok. It's a bunch of nonsense, right? But go watch TikTok in China and see what you see. It's people talking about how they make money, educating people, doing all of these different things. So there's all these different agendas being pushed in all these different places for a reason, right? So that's obviously being funded by someone. But BuzzFeed goes down, probably 10 others pop up somewhere else to take their place. Just means they weren't playing by the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I think there's going to be a shakeout now just due to everything that Elon has done with Twitter. And then you're getting more and more people, folks like Newsmax. And look, I'm not like a huge fan of Newsmax, but you're seeing more and more independent media. I mean, gosh, Tim Pool and I, funnily enough, Tim Pool and I were both at Occupy Wall Street in New York City back in 2010. Like, I remember seeing him there. And then he's continued to be a citizen journalist. It's one of my lifelong goals to be on the Tim Pool podcast. Shout out Timcast. But it's kind of funny to see how people are just kind of done with the clickbait. Do want to give a shout out to Redman again. He says, that's why I sub to this channel around the blockchain. It's not run by a conglomerate. That's right. It is run by a Nictatorship. That is me. And one of the sponsors of this Nictatorship is Presend.io. Look at this beautiful website. Again, this is Drew's company. Ooh. They're an awesome service. We have a link in the description. Drew, can you give us like a 15-second elevator pitch on Presend and why it absolutely slaps? Your mic is off. Your mic, and now you're back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now
words aren't even needed.
So Presend basically stops cross-chain transactions. We know that Ethereum came out and revolutionized blockchain as we know it, right? But everything that is now built on Ethereum is causing all of these issues where you can just accidentally lose your USDC, your BNB, whatever, going into all these different wallets on all these different exchanges and chains and stuff like that. Presend actually stops that from happening. And it also stops it from you sending, stuff that you're not supposed to send to a centralized exchange, say like your DeFi participants are like, oh, I want to send one of my poo coins over to Coinbase. Well,
all the time.
Traditionally you would be able to do that, but not with Presend. We'll stop that and we will save you money for a very minimal fee, actually.
I love it. Thank you, Presend, for all you do. So let's talk about coins. Let's talk about a new layer 1 that is proof of work that just went mainnet this week. And it's no slouch. It's not some like fly-by-night Ukrainian whatever coin. It is backed by A16Z, that little mom and pop VC firm, A16Z. It's called Ironfish. It's a copy basically of the Zcash privacy chain. They launched their mainnet. It's on the Blake 3 algorithm, which I guess is kind of ASIC resistance. I'm sure Mind Your Biz will let me know. They say they're a privacy chain. They're going to offer support for Bitcoin and Ethereum swaps right on the chain. They've got a bunch of other like digital ID stuff. But curiously, there is some controversy with it. Talking about a pre-mine, talking about an airdrop if you were mining on the test net. And they also go out of their way in their explanation of what they do to cooperate, to highlight their cooperation with compliance measures and offer their users view-only keys to send to tax professionals. Interesting. Could this be a revolution for what's near and dear to my heart, which is GPU mining? Let me go to, before we get into the mining part, Tim, there's a brand new token. It's got cool tokenomics. It's got a lot of backing. It was mined. So it's going to be dropping on. It's not even listed on exchanges right now. What's the kind of behavior that people are going to see when they want to trade these new tokens that are just dropping on exchanges?
Yeah, great question. I mean, when you sit there and read the white paper, a very exciting potential here for this coin. We know, though, that just because something has a good purpose and was created for a good reason doesn't make it an absolute kill right off the bat. We want to see what happens when it launches. And to be honest with you, this really boils down, my answer on this one boils down to how risky you really want to get. If you are risk associated, if you like taking risks, taking a little bit of money, and when it comes on exchanges, investing a little bit here and there, great. But what you should expect is a lot of volatility when it goes on exchanges. The market really won't know what it really wants to do with it. It's brand new. You're going to have to wait for probably even a couple of months to really let it sort itself out. Like right now, one of the coolest things you can do when you see something either put on new exchange or you're interested in a smaller cap altcoin, you absolutely want to go check out either CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, go take a look at the tokenomics, read the white paper, look at what the supply is, what's the current amount. And so right now, we can't do any of that. You go to CoinMarketCap, it just says no data provided. You go to CoinGecko, it doesn't even register that it exists. If you want to risk a little bit of money, go for it. You ready for volatility? You need to go ahead and commit yourself to, hey, this money, I'm going to imagine if it goes to zero, I'm completely okay with it. But if this skyrockets and goes 13,000x, 20,000x, I'm going to make some good money. Not crazy money, but good money. If you are not risk averted, I highly recommend waiting just a couple of months. Let some more information come out. Let's see how the community responds to it. Let's see what it looks like. Because a great idea could be great, but if only 10 people like it, I'm sorry, it's just not going to take off. Make sure you don't just go with how exciting it could be. Wait for some real data to come in. Wait for some real results and community exposure before you go all in on a coin like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. And also, like, these new coins that will drop, especially like I've been mining Neoxa a lot. And for the longest time, the only way you could trade it, the only pair was Neoxa and Litecoin. So you get these weird pairs right out of the gate. Now, I think with A16Z, you'll see a different pair to trade, but it may just be like spot for a while. There's like not going to be leverage for a long, long time. Let me go to Mind Your Biz. Okay, like we're mining Eskimo brothers, as it were. Is this a new era for mining, or are you worried? Like, is this good? Is a VC-backed mining coin like this good overall for the system, or is this super bad news?
It's a really difficult question to answer because with VC backing, what we're used to seeing as of this last cycle is we're used to seeing VCs step in and try to get themselves involved in proof of stake ecosystems precisely because they can do sort of infrastructure capture. Like they can own so much of the roads, so to speak, that all of the traffic is going to run on top of. And so they feel much more comfortable with just knowing that they've got everything captive there. With this, it shows kind of a little bit of good faith in terms of allowing for greater decentralization, allowing anybody to mine with it. I mean, as of today, it's supposed to be mined. Blake 3, the algorithm it uses, is supposed to be mineable with CPUs. So if you had a spare laptop lying around, it's supposed to be possible to mine with that spare laptop. Even if you're a non-technical user, you should be able to get up and running without too much difficulty. That's the way they've framed this. But it begs the question, what is the other hand doing, Nick? And I think with a VC, we can always safely presume that the other hand of a VC is trying to get as deep into our pockets as possible. Now, what does that look like? In a blockchain ecosystem, sometimes that looks like being able to surrender some of the promised privacy to third parties or to nation states. Now, I mean, a small deep dive into the white paper, like Tim was saying, it is interesting. A deep dive fully into the white paper will reveal a little bit more. And then when you also compare and contrast that to who exactly is behind the investment, that's always like the final question. Who stands to benefit by setting up this new network, regardless of what they say in the white paper? Because spoiler alert, I've read a lot of white papers in my day. I've interviewed most of the privacy projects since before the sapling update that this one uses. And you can lie in a white paper. That's what I'm going to tell the audience. That's the spoiler. You can absolutely lie. Flat out tell a bold-faced lie in your white paper. Or like with Ethereum and their so-called yellow paper. You can in one breath say that the rise of anything that isn't GPU mining is literal cancer. They actually said that in their own white paper. And then you can go on to eliminate GPU mining from your network. These people are, people are capable of crazy things. VCs are capable of things that put them in a position to profit above everybody else in the market. They're not used to doing investments that don't result in a 10x. And when they do, that's part of the business model, right? There'll be some that lose. But the way that they create their business model is they always need to have the potential to minimum return 10x, 100x, or 1000x returns. In blockchain, we've come to expect this. It's kind of insane when you think about it, right? We've got a reality distortion field in this market, and VCs do too. We've all become addicted to easy money, and I think there's something that's just hidden out of sight. We got to look at what the other hand is doing. So I'm skeptical, is what I'm saying. But one of the things that makes me most skeptical is the claim that they're going to allow for conditional privacy with these view keys. And that, to me, I'm just going to say it out loud. Here we are, day 2 of this network launching. I think there's a non-zero chance that those are just a flat-out backdoor. and that there is not real privacy on this network.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. A lot of questions. I was digging in the way. I was very bullish on this project. I'm still bullish overall, but there's a lot of questions to this project. The view only thing, like it just screams honeypot. Jenna.
Yeah, for how long? Can it be revoked? Sorry.
Yeah.
You touched a point I could talk on for days. So
I know. So Jenna, VC-backed proof of work coins, they're pretty rare these days. Like they're not really a thing. Do you see more projects going to proof of work in the future, considering the SEC's kind of bullish on proof of work? They've even named like Litecoin a commodity, or the CFTC named Litecoin a commodity. There's murky waters when it comes to proof of stake, but less so for proof of work. What do you see the future for proof of work and just launching coins in the future?
Well, first of all, I guess I'm going to start that with a no. Kind of because like BTC, okay, look at Bitcoin. It was a one-off, right? The SEC deemed it fully decentralized because there's no ownership, right? So it's not a security, but proof of work can still be attacked. What matters is that the project should be sufficiently decentralized, how they perform their raise, and what the utility is of the token. So it doesn't really matter if it's proof of work versus proof of stake. And there's no general consensus right now on ETH yet, because we can't get like a yes or a no, is this security? But Jay Clayton just mentioned the other day, and he's such an awesome person. Love that guy. Just kidding. He gave the ticket example, and I'm not sure if you heard it, but he mentioned like, hey, something can go from being a security to not a security. For example, if I sold 1,000 tickets to you guys to this play for $10, the play is not going to be for a couple more years, but I have to, get it started. We have to finish it, whatever. Okay, so in a couple years when the play's ready and they're ready to sell tickets, now I can sell mine for $100, but you can go to the ticket counter and buy it, and it's just a ticket. It's no longer a security at the counter. So you see how that can shift. And now with this new fish iron tank, whatever this thing is. Okay. So it's interesting, right? Like, because they want to see transparency. So that's very good, but it's only time will tell, and it does pay to be early, but definitely do your research. And, as you guys are saying, it's risky. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So real quick follow-up on that. For the NFT market, which you're heavily in, do people even care what the consensus mechanism is? Or do they want that community, they want the JPEG, and they want the fees for trading it? Do they care about the consensus at all?
Oh, obviously ETH is like the strongest to be on for your NFTs and everything, but people want rewards. There's still such degens, but you've got to have some kind of utility and everything, and you've got to be quick in and out. But then, you have to be really, really careful what you talk about with these NFTs and NFT projects. There's ones they're solving real world use cases, and that's what people really should be paying attention to.
Yeah. Very, very fair, very fair. Drew, so look, no one cares about privacy until theirs is gone. But it's a really hard narrative to get people to buy, like normies to buy into. Do you see a project like Ironfish having legs with such a hard hill to climb? Is it a normie play? Is it an enterprise play? Like where are they trying to go here?
I'm going to be honest with you. The VC backing makes me think it's more of an enterprise play. Like we noticed that a lot of these, they like to hide in plain sight, right? So nothing is worth anything anymore except for data. At the end of the day, your time is worth a lot and your data is worth probably almost just as much to these guys, right? So it's kind of a dime a dozen, in my opinion. We've already had Monero for a very long time. Like it basically accomplishes the same thing. You just can't swap your Bitcoin to ETH. Big whoop. Anybody can do that literally anywhere. I don't see what the, hype is behind it. I think that a lot of communities they come out, they get real hyped, and then you'll see that upward trajectory, and then bam, right back down to the equilibrium, which is where most people should probably stay at, right? And just having realistic expectations in a case like this is probably better, in my opinion, because I've seen a lot of this in the crypto sphere, and that's why I've kind of tried to make things that aren't cookie cutter and make things that are truly unique, like maybe be able to file a patent. Like even, Hedera, Hashgraph, they have patents and stuff like that. Prescient has a patent, all that good stuff. But my point is, it seems like there's a lot less innovation in the market now than there once was, because a lot of people have already thought of a lot of the things. So then people just copy a blockchain and they're like, we're forking this, right? And I don't get it, man. Like, why not bring a real solution that's not already being tackled? Maybe you added one little feature on top of it. Well, you could literally just take that one feature and be a software and add on top of the already pre-existing, blockchain infrastructure. That was kind of our thesis.
Yeah, it's fair. There's a lot of questions here. The more that it's out in the wild, the next year, launching in a bear market, like, it takes chutzpah to do that, period. But there's a lot to see. It's something I'm keeping my eye on. I'm not mining it. I'm not recommending that anyone jump in, especially like the hash rate was out of the gate bananas. And like Mine Your Biz was saying in the pre-show, like, it's only going to go up from there. But I like to mine smaller projects. I've been mining, like Ergo and Neoxa, and those are, obviously much more fairly launched than this one. Seth, I know you may have one more quip. Can you give us one more mining quip in like 20 seconds?
Yeah, one more mining quip. Yeah, this thing has suffered from what's called a secret mine. You are going to get dumped on because they're rewarding people who mined the test net, and by any other name, that's just secret mining. So there's the quip. Uncle Seth tells you, don't get secret mine dumped on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't get hot dumped on. Okay, let's talk about AI. But before that, you got to protect your personal data, and there is a service called Incogni that you can sign up for that wipes your data from all these data brokers. There's literally hundreds of them. It reduces your online footprint, reduces spam text, spam email, spam calls. It is fantastic. There's a link in the description. I use it. I had, there was 300 data brokers had my information. I was scared. They do all of the requests for you. It's freaking sick. Incogni in the description. Let's talk about AI. An AI startup named Humane was founded by a former Apple design and engineering team members to raise $100 million in Series C funding through Kindred Ventures. The fundraiser featured notable investors such as LG, Microsoft, Volvo, Qualcomm, and OpenAI's Sam Altman, who is the human equivalent of oat milk. So far, Humane has raised over $230 million and grown its workforce to over 200. Let's see here. So basically, what are they doing? So they're making body-worn devices utilizing laser projection systems instead of displays. They're greasing the skids for you to wear an AI. So they don't want they don't want a black mirror in front of you anymore. They want to basically project onto your retinas, and that sounds like LASIK surgery. So let me ask you this. Let's see, Jenna, will smartphones eventually become a thing of the past, like tapes or CDs or democracy or capitalism? Is it going to be an AI future where we are wearing AI, or are these people just smelling their own farts right now?
Well, they might be doing that, but we would be absolutely like idiots to think that, we aren't going to have these developments and everything. I mean, it's probably like in the 90s when we had Walkman. We could not imagine having this little computer that tells us literally everything in our hands. So I'm absolutely sure that these things will happen, but I miss the 90s. I miss when things were simple like that. But absolutely. And think about it. It goes so much further, right? Like into the medical field. I'm really sure that that's how they'll package it and make it look pretty and cool, right? Like, hey guys, you can wear this computer and everything, but think about how AI integrates with blockchain technology and all of the things that we can store and how efficiently they can mine your data. And then I look at the partnerships that Humane is creating, like that they have with LG, with Microsoft. And I know that Microsoft holds the patent for crypto mining and your brain activity. So I can definitely see this stuff happening, coming to fruition.
They hold the patent for hang on, repeat what you just said?
Yeah. So Bill Gates and Microsoft, they hold the patent, and it was done a few years ago for crypto mining with your brain activity.
Well, you know what? That's fine, because the graphene running through my veins is ready to increase the hash rate exponentially. So, Drew, you hear about these guys raising $230 million, right? Are they just riding some AI hype? Is this fluff? Is this like another Uber evaluation where they had this app that worked in New York and LA and then actually didn't work for a long, long time? Or do you think there's substance here?
Yes and no. Okay. So they're
I love it.
absolutely 100% riding that AI hype train, baby. That is a fact. We know that. We see it in the crypto markets, man. There's like 40 different AI coins. They're like, I'm AI done for you #2. Like, yeah, okay, dude. No one cares. You're not doing anything, right? They're actually doing stuff here, though. So I will give them credit for that. And they have massive partnerships. Like Qualcomm by themselves has the entire smartphone on lock.
Yeah.
You know what I think that feels like? That feels like a play where they're like, oh, you know what? Our smartphones aren't going to be selling anymore, so we can't sell the chips to those smartphones anymore. So we might need to get in with these guys, right? I do see this. This is going to spiral out of control extremely quickly, man. Like Elon has already said this like 17 times. He said it on Joe Rogan. He said it in probably TED Talks. He said it on Oliver's Twitter, everything. This is going to get absolutely buck nutty, as my buddy Devin would say, right?
Buck
so
nutty.
I see
That's
this
a first.
Buck nutty, dude. So it's going to get really wild really soon. I don't really like the fact that it's like that one game. It's like that one movie where it was like the gamers where everything was altered reality, right? Like that's all they lived for. And I see it already with kids, right? I've got a 10-year-old. Dude loses his mind if you take away his Nintendo Switch. Imagine when you start giving people like this type of technology that is once thought to be impossible, right? And it's right at their fingertips. And then they start making it as affordable as buying your smartphone that only costs a few $100. It's going to be very elite at first. And then it's going to start tearing down as we see everything happening with game theory. It's how it always happens. And man, it's going to be really, really weird. We're going to enter a really weird market.
I could also see an alternate reality to where it's forced on the lower class and the elites are clean from it. Just like every rich person on the planet sends their kids to a school that does not have tablets or computers. Let's go to Tim. How far away before we see the implementation of products like Neuralink? Do you think that's just a bunch of hooey? Or are we going to be inserting Elon Musk into our bodies?
The problem, Nick, is sooner rather than it really would be good. I want to even go back to this whole project. Not that anyone here is thinking of they're a big fan of it, but I absolutely reading more on this and what's going on. I absolutely hate this. I want to start off with the first red flag I noticed. The name of
Tell
the
us
company
how you really
is called,
feel.
Exactly. Yeah. The name of the company is Humane. That should be the first red flag. That's like trying to get out of the way and saying, "Oh, we're trying to help." This is the farthest thing from being humane. Let's start off there. So that's a big red flag. Then you start to look at those partnerships. You know, Jenna was talking about one of the biggest ones, Microsoft. Well, guess what? Is he technically still the CEO? No. But who's heavily involved with Microsoft? Who still runs that? Bill Gates. What do we know about Bill Gates? We have seen him actively doing things, talking about downgrading the world population. He wants to get rid of people. Even when Elon Musk started to voice some concerns about how AI could be detrimental to humanity, it was crazy. His response, Bill Gates' response was not, I know, but it was more like, but it would be so good too. So like he just blew right through the concerns that it could downplay civilization and said the benefits pretty much outweigh the bad things. And it's just one of those very, very scary things that these people who are in power are going to be trying to put things into your body, on your body, get into your brain. We were talking earlier in the show here. Is there still going to be a need for government-funded news? Here's the reason why not. What's the point of the government funding news stations and funding these places? It is so that they can get their ideas and their thoughts into your head. But as it stands right now, the only way to do that is to have you watch and consume their stuff. But they don't need to control the media if they can control your eyeballs. Even this technology, the way it's going to work, it's going to be like I think Drew was saying, like the Ready Player One kind of world where you're literally living life through a virtual scan. Watch them have these things pop up. Like I saw the video the guy did. You could see things on your hands. Watch, like in video game systems, how you can kind of see like different options. You want to go here? Do you want to go here? Watch the programming pretty much start dictating to some of these people using it and start insisting they make certain types of decisions. They're going to influence everyday decisions that they do. So not only is it inhumane to our bodies, I mean, what's this technology going to do to us? We know as humans, the more natural you can be, the farther away you can get from technology, the more healthy you can be. Now we want to implement it into our bodies. That's danger number one. But number two is, we're in the same show, we're talking about how is the government going to respond to not being able to fund news media anymore? With things like this, they don't need to. If they can go straight to the source, to your brain, they don't need to control media.
Yeah, that's true. And when you were talking about them naming the company Humane, a tech company naming themselves Humane is the same as a person saying, I'm not racist, but you know what's going to follow next. So, Seth, do you see blockchain playing, right? Do you see blockchain playing a role in securing these future tech devices, or conversely, protecting us from these tech devices?
That is the trillion-dollar question, right? As it is right now, or the multi-trillion-dollar question is, can blockchains be pivoted from their current store of value or micropayment or remittance narrative or DeFi narrative or speculative store of value and NFTs narrative or art collection narrative? Can we pivot into the saving humanity from itself while we create new methods of AI torture narrative? I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get on board with that. It's not as sexy for VCs, certainly, right? VCs are all about what Tim was saying, right? If they can get a main line straight into side of your brain pan, then they're going to take it 10 times out of 10. And they don't care what it looks like, if it's an implant or if it's virtual reality goggles or if it's a stereoscopic 3D movie. I'm going to harken back a few years. Y'all remember James Cameron's Avatar? I know the first one. It was a classic. It's like over 3 decades old now. So it's been forever, right? They took forever getting that sequel out. But the point is, when people went to that movie and they put on the 3D glasses and they went into this magical world that was created in a computer, there were documented cases of people actually having depression when they left the theater, because it's like a 3-hour long movie. It's super long, right? Very, very immersive. People actually getting the symptoms of depression when they left, and the reality struck them that they couldn't just go live on this fictional world, Pandora. We already know what this stuff does to our brains. We're not good at addictive substances. We're not good at pulling away from the dopamine drip. We're a bit like, that study of the rats hitting a button to get a crack pellet. We're just going to keep on hitting that button over and over and over again. And so, I don't see this being a very positive trend, but blockchain being the solution, blockchain actually saving us. Nick, let me unpack that really fast for the Bit Squad, because I think what you're saying is this. We'll just do a teachable moment here. I think what you're saying is blockchain has the possibility of being able to properly notarize and timestamp what is real. And most people don't realize that's going to be necessary in a world where AI can make anything at any time appear to be real. So we do need some sort of a standard to help us re-achieve our grounding, right? To help us understand what is actual reality and what has been generated for us on the fly by a stable diffusion model or some other large language model or whatever the next iteration of this fresh AI hell is that we're going to subject ourselves to. So what you're suggesting is blockchain could potentially solve that problem if it's done in that way. Well, I don't know what it's going to take for that to happen. I hope that there are groups that find it worth doing, but I can pretty much confidently predict that no VC in the world is going to want to touch that because it's too mission driven. It's too ideologically pure. I hate to even say that. It's too ideologically pure to try to save people from the fresh hell of AI, because AI is, like Drew said too, just too sexy to VCs. It's too much funny money, too much easy money. So yeah, I hope, but the pessimist in me says it's probably not going to happen.
Hey, look, you gotta hope for the best and plan for the worst, and that's what we're doing here on this show. That is all for Around the Blockchain. And it looks like Jenna XRP has 590 problems now because she just won this show. Take it away, Jenna.
Thank you so much for having me, Nick. It's always a pleasure to be back on Around the Blockchain. Happy Friday, everybody. And you can catch me on Twitter at Jenna X Crypto. And want to give a shout out to the XRP Army. You know I love you guys.
Look at that. That's the only time the XRP Army will ever get a shout out when I'm in town, is when Jenna's on the show. Thank you so much to all of our guests. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Share this out on social media. Tell your grandparents. Play it in youth group at church. Do whatever you got to do to get the word out about Around the Blockchain. Have a fantastic weekend. Go touch grass. Go talk to people face to face. I love all y'all. See you at the top.